Hey, what's going on, guys? It's Joe, and you're now watching the True Intentions podcast. First off, I just want to say thank you all for all the support that you've been showing on my videos. Thank you so much. This is something I've always wanted to do, and now I'm able to work towards it and put in effort for you guys. Honestly, the viewers are the most important part of why I do this. I have fun, don't get me wrong. So this next video that we're going to dive into here at the True Intentions podcast is going to be the Russian sleep experiment. This is, I guess there's a true story behind the legend of what it is. I really don't know anything about it. My brother said to look into it, so shout out to my brother, Ben. I know he's watching. So this is by Whispers in the Dark. Let's go ahead and dive into this. You're now watching the True Intentions podcast. Let's get it.
Stood against the endless white expanse, like a tombstone marking some forgotten grave. This was Research Facility 47B, one of dozens of black sites scattered across the Soviet Union.
Bro, the Soviet Union, that place is scary. Like, you see videos of Vladimir Putin, like, riding bears and just guns blazing, like, pow, 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 going crazy with it. I don't know if I would be able to ride a bear. I'd wrestle a bear, but I would not ride him. That thing bucks you off and you could snap your neck. The Soviets are just insane. I mean, you name it, they've done it. And I mean, the Red Scare was pretty justified. I'm scared of the Reds. So I can already see that this is going to be a pretty crazy video.
The boundaries of human endurance were tested in the name of military advancement. The facility's official designation was Psychological Warfare Research Division.
So that goes into kind of what we were talking about in the last video with MK Ultra. So this might be a little bit of a look into the Russian side of what was going on with their psychological testing that they were doing. I know the US's involvement with psychological, like LSD, drugs, just by watching that part 1 of the MK Ultra video is just mind-blowing. So, and by the way, I am dropping part 2 coming soon. Just be on the lookout for that. But yeah, I can already tell. I mean, I feel like there's more guidelines. Again, that's a very loose term, but I'm saying there's more regulations that come into play with the US. There's a lot of checks and balances over there. I don't know. I don't think there is anything. I think it's the government says something and that's what they do. That's pretty scary, considering I don't want to say that's not how it is here, but the way that the US, the Constitution was set up, it was supposed to be power to the people, right? That's how it was supposed to be set up. That's not exactly how it is, but that's how it was written. Shout out Nas.
But the scientists and guards who worked there knew it by a different name: the Laboratory of Nightmares.
Wow.
The building's exterior gave no hint of the horrors within. Gray concrete walls, barred windows, and a single steel door marked only with Cyrillic numbers. But beneath its unremarkable facade lay a maze of sterile corridors, observation rooms, and sealed chambers where the Soviet military conducted experiments that would make the world recoil in disgust, if the world ever learned of them. Dr. Sergei Volkov, the facility's chief researcher, was a thin man with wire-rimmed
Sergei. It's a fun name.
spectacles and the pale complexion of someone who rarely saw sunlight. He had earned his position through a combination of brilliant scientific insight and complete moral flexibility. His specialty was neurochemistry, specifically the development of compounds that could alter human consciousness for military purposes. Under his direction, Facility 47B had produced truth serums,
Truth serums. I want to look into what that is. Just the name alone, a truth serum. You inject this into veins and they tell you the truth. It reminds me of, I bring up movies a lot, but in Kill Bill, when it's the end of the second movie, part 2 of Kill Bill, and Bill injects her with a truth serum and she just starts saying the truth. That's what I'm reminded of here. I love that movie. Shout out Kill Bill.
Inducing gases, and pain amplifiers, all tested on political prisoners who had already been declared dead by the state.
That's insane. You're testing it on people that have already been declared dead, so no one's going to look for them. That's actually wild to think that is happening, because it is happening. They're not making that up. I guarantee you they probably are doing that now here in the US, in Russia. Like, that's such a scary thought, to be held a prisoner and know that no one is coming for you. Wow.
Guards at the facility were handpicked for their loyalty and their ability to follow orders without question. Among them was Private Dmitry Volkov, no relation to the doctor, a 23-year-old from a farming
Look at that. Scary, dude. Looks like some Black Ops type stuff. Call of Duty Black Ops. Oof.
village outside Moscow. Unlike his colleagues, who seemed to thrive in the facility's atmosphere of clinical cruelty, Dmitry kept a private journal where he recorded his observations and, increasingly, his growing unease with what he witnessed. The chamber at the center of this particular nightmare was designated Test Cell 7, a hermetically sealed concrete box measuring 15 feet by 20 feet, with walls painted
15 feet by 20 feet. That does not seem like it's a lot of room. I'm just doing the calculations in my head here, like the numbers are flying by. But yeah, that does not seem like it's a cozy atmosphere. So that would suck.
institutional white and a single reinforced glass window for observation. The room contained 5 military cots, a sink, a toilet, and a small table. A complex vent.
Oh, so maybe that is enough room then, unless it's just small stuff. I mean, there's a table, there's a cot, there's a restroom. So maybe the math wasn't accurate in my head. But whenever you say 15 by 20, I just think small immediately. Like, that's not no luxury facility there.
Ventilation system could introduce gases while maintaining complete atmospheric control.
Wow.
Hidden microphones recorded every sound, while cameras monitored every movement. On February 15th,
That's what I'm saying, guys. This was back then that they had access to make this whole facility like that. And over time, time is the greatest ally of progressing and progression. So over time, you're going to get better at what you're doing, and you're not going to make the same mistakes over and make it very noticeable. Now that we're in 2026, there's no way that they don't know how to make a room where you will not be able to tell the difference if you're being watched, if they have gas in the vents or microphones set up strategically, and the microphones they're using are probably not the same ones that we have now. I have a microphone that I got off Amazon that's super small. It's like a little button that you put right here. It's tiny. You're telling me that I can get that off Amazon right now, and that they don't have something more sophisticated now? They probably got those things from Spy Kids where they put it on the wall and it's a little micro camera or something. I don't know if you guys remember that. That just tells my age. But that's just a very scary thought to think about, that the government has that much access and control over situations. And that's another video I want to go into, is just what they do, known cases of when they've been involved with riots and forging documents, and even the releasing of the files that have been going on lately with the JFK files and the Epstein files. You just see the government's hand that's involved, and it's just like, dang, dude. I'm just here for the ride, I'm literally just here for the ride.
1947, 5 political prisoners were brought to them as enemies of the state. 2 suspected spies, a dissident writer, a former Orthodox priest, and a Red Army deserter.
Dang, bro, what? They got the priest in there? Come on, now. They had a former writer, a priest, and what was this?
All had a former Orthodox priest and a Red Army deserter.
A Red Army deserter, excuse me. That, I mean, I guess. But the priest, bro, come on. What do you do? Why y'all putting him through that?
Been held in isolation for months. Their executions officially
held in isolation for months. These are phrases they just say. When I think more about that, I don't even know if I'd be able to be held in isolation for months. You're in a closed off small room, isolated by yourself, just you and your thoughts. That's very scary. I don't know if it's just me. I literally don't know what I would do in that situation. How would I keep my sanity if you're just like by yourself for months? I just watched this movie, Castaway, with Tom Hanks. Great movie. Love that movie. I forgot how good it was when I rewatched it. He was there for like years and years, but still a couple months on end with just you. He at least had a volleyball. He got Wilson. You know what I mean? He had Wilson. What the heck do these guys got? Like, you know what I'm saying? It's a dark room, closed off. I don't even know what I would do. I'd probably have to like chisel something into the wall, a little buddy, like a bubble buddy or something. Wow, crazy.
Carried out on paper, while their bodies remained very much alive for Dr. Volkov's purposes. They were told they would be participating in a sleep study, and that their cooperation...
Bruh. So after months of being held in isolation, they open the door, and you're over here like rocking and stuff, and they're like, "Hey, bro. Hey, no, let me do the accent. Hey, bro. What's up? How you doing, bro? You want to be part of sleep experiment? Huh, bro? Get out of room. We don't keep your dark room no more." And you're just like over there, "Yeah, whatever you want." You know what I mean? Dude, what are they going to say? No? Sorry, guys, I don't want to be part of your sleep experiment. They didn't really give them a choice. They're just, yeah, like, you guys are going to do this now. And they thought, I don't even know what they thought.
Could earn them their freedom. The experiment was designed
Crazy.
to test the limits of human consciousness. For decades, military strategists had dreamed of soldiers who never needed rest.
Wow.
Troops who could fight for days or weeks without succumbing to
Days or weeks. Couldn't even go a day without sleep. I need sleep so bad. Couldn't even imagine that. Weeks. Those people would literally be zombies at that point. Dang.
exhaustion. Dr. Volkov believed he had developed the key, a colorless, odorless gas he designated Compound X19, and suppressed the brain's natural sleep mechanisms.
Wow.
From his journal, found decades later in a locked footlocker in his abandoned apartment, Private Dmitry Volkov recorded his first impressions. February 15th, 1947, 1000...
Oh, so this was in the 40s then. Yeah, that's what I'm saying is they were already having technology like that back in the 40s, and now we're in 2026. Sorry, I'm going on a little bit of a tangent here, but this is another thing I want to cover too. When we went into Venezuela to get the president, there was a gun that the U.S. was using, experimental weapon, and you pointed at the person, it uses like vibrations or something, and it just immediately made people collapse and start throwing up. What kind of weapon is that? What kind of demon weapon is that, bro? You talk about a fair fight. These are trained SEAL type dudes that are protecting the president of Venezuela, and you just got these guys with fart guns blasting people, making them throw up. If I saw that, like, dude, what am I gonna do? Honestly, what are we going to do if the U.S. decides, hey, I don't want this to be a democracy anymore. I want this to be a monarchy. What are we gonna do? I'm gonna pull out my AR against a freaking fart weapon or some sonic weapon that's gonna make me throw up. You know what I mean? It just, I don't know. It's very sus how things are gonna go. I don't know.
400 hours. The subjects have been sealed in the chamber. Dr. V says the gas will be introduced gradually over the first 6 hours. I watched them through the observation window. 5 men sitting on their cots, talking quietly. They seem almost relieved.
Well, at least they got friends now. At least they can talk to each other. It's better than months in isolation. And also, how crazy would that be to go from being in isolation for months and then being reintroduced to people? I feel like I would be very autistic after that and not know what to say and think. I'd be extra careful about what I'm saying, and I'd think about everything that I'm saying. You know, never mind.
Believed to be out of solitary. One of them, the priest, is making the sign of the cross. If only they knew what was coming. The first 24 hours proceeded as expected. The subjects remained awake and alert, showing increased energy and heightened awareness. They paced the small chamber, engaged in animated conversations,
Okay, cool.
and appeared almost euphoric. Dr. Volkov took careful notes, measuring their vital signs through remote sensors and recording their behavior on film. The laboratory itself was a study in sterile efficiency. Fluorescent lights hummed overhead, casting everything in harsh white light that never dimmed.
Me personally, I have like a light sensitivity. That's self-diagnosed, by the way. I didn't go to a doctor for that. It's something I notice about myself when I'm in artificial light. What they're describing, like that very bright white that's just very unnatural, and it just like hurts, and you kind of like gotta squint a little bit. I hate that type of light. It gives me a headache. I just notice how I feel with that. The fact that they were in that kind of environment would stress me out. Like a fish definitely gets stressed out.
The air reeked of antiseptic and ozone from the electrical equipment. Scientists in white coats moved between banks of monitoring equipment, their footsteps echoing off the concrete floors. The only sounds were the scratch of pencils on paper, the electronic beeps of monitoring devices, and the steady mechanical hiss of gas being pumped into the sealed chamber.
I hope they were at least eating good. That's all I gotta say. Like, give them boys some food, man. Give them some steak. Give them some cordon bleu, something, man. If you're gonna torture them like that, at least give them something other than MREs and porridge or whatever the heck they were feeding them.
By the third day, the subject's euphoria had transformed into nervous energy. They spoke rapidly, often.
Oh, so they're not sleeping then? Because I forgot all about that. That means all of the stuff going on was probably to keep them awake. Those bright lights that I was talking about, that's another thing too. For me personally, if those lights are in the room, I can't be comfortable. That's what I meant to say earlier, is I literally can't be comfortable. I can't sit still. I can't even like think, because the buzzing of the lights and the brightness on my eyes. Plus, with all those scientists running back and forth and scribbling, and they probably had shifts where the scientists would take breaks and then new ones would come in, so it was a 24-hour type thing, like a Mr. Beast challenge. And dude, 3 days of that, I don't even know. Because when I was in the military going to basic, they kind of sleep deprived us before we went to basic. And by the time I went to basic, I was tired just because of all the stupid stuff they were having us do. We would be waiting for hours in a room, and then they'd march us over here, they'd march us over there, and then we'd have to run here. And that was just for orientation. That was just, you weren't even in basic yet. And then when basic hit, it was like, man, they got me messed up with this. But that's kind of where my mind goes with that, to relate it. But trust me, this was worse than basic what they're going through. At least we got 3 hots in a cot with basic. Here, they ain't got no food. They got boards. They're probably feeding them wooden boards or something, or double glass.
Interrupting each other, and their movements became more erratic. Sleep deprivation typically began affecting cognitive function after 72 hours,
Wow.
but compound X19 seemed to be overriding the brain's natural shutdown mechanisms while amplifying paranoia and anxiety.
Oof, that would be horrible. That's my worst nightmare, what they're talking about here.
February 18th, 1947, 0200 hours. Something is wrong. The subjects haven't slept in 3 days, but they show no signs of exhaustion. If anything, they seem more alert than when they went in. Subject number 3, the writer, has been talking to himself for 6 straight hours. The others are starting to look at each other strangely. Dr. V is excited. He says this proves the compound is working better than expected. I wish I shared his enthusiasm. On the 4th day, the subject's behavior took a disturbing turn. They had stopped speaking to each other and were now whispering constantly to themselves.
Oh, just imagining that. You just see some dude in the corner just muttering to himself and just looking all paranoid. I'm not gonna lie, I get scared when I go on lunch and I go to Quick Trip and I see crackheads all around. I couldn't even imagine watching these like 4 guys in like separate corners and they're just like, muttering to themselves, and ugh, that's demonic, bro. Nah.
When one would approach another, the second would back away, showing signs of extreme agitation. The microphones in the chamber picked up fragments of their whispered conversations. Paranoid ravings about being watched, about...
That actually reminds me, talking about crackheads at Quick Trip, I'm not gonna lie, I've noticed a lot of crackheads like, muttering to themselves. And again, I don't think it's just the drugs. Now that watching this video, I wonder if it has something to do with the sleep deprivation. Because the drug is one thing, don't get me wrong, the drug will make you, I don't even know, I haven't looked into crack, so I don't know what exactly it does, but all I know is that meth and crack, what I've heard from people is that they're up. They don't sleep. They're just constantly just freaking. I heard they clean a lot on those drugs. They're just like cleaning, and they don't sleep. So they're just up and vigilant and awake. So that has to be tied into the muttering to themselves and the paranoia and the sleep deprivation. I just never made that correlation. I just thought it was part of the drug, why they were doing that. It was making them just crazy. But the sleep deprivation is what's actually making them crazy.
Voices in the walls, about things moving in their peripheral vision. The facility's guards began to show signs of unease. These were men trained to observe human suffering without flinching, but something about the subject's behavior was different from anything.
Yeah, that would be traumatic to watch a human being go through that. Probably because as a human, you look at another human suffering, and even if you're trained to not have an emotion towards that, you would still get scared because you're looking into something that you weren't meant to see as a human. You don't expect to see a person suffering to that degree, and then also it makes you think, if I was to watch something like that, I would have to picture myself in their position to feel that empathy for them, as in, man, that's what it would look like if I was in that position. And your mind would start going through all these scenarios, and that would definitely freak me out. So
They had witnessed before. The way the subjects moved, quick, twitchy gestures like insects, was deeply unsettling. More disturbing were their faces, which had begun to take on a gaunt, hollow-eyed appearance despite being well-fed. February 20th.
So they're well fed then. All right. There's a difference between well fed and fed well. You know what I mean? Fed well. They got the beef Wellington. They got the chili mac. They got the stew. They got the tamales. Like, hopefully they're fed well and not just well fed. You're
1947, 1800 hours. Fifth day without sleep. The
5
subjects
days.
have torn up their bedsheets and stuffed them into the air vents. When asked why over the intercom, subject number 5, the deserter, looked directly at the camera and said, "We don't want to sleep anymore.
Wow.
Sleep is for the weak." His voice sounded different, hoarser, almost like an animal's growl. The other guards are avoiding the observation room. I don't blame them. By the end of the first week, the transformation was undeniable. The subjects had become something other than human. Their movements had acquired.
That's literally demonic, because the way God made it, God made rest. It's only in the Bible, a day set aside for rest. And that's to catch up on sleep, enjoying the fruit of your labor. And here, the body is working and there's no rest. And what comes into play is something that's anti-God. It goes against the natural creation. I mean, just thinking about that, that seems like an entity would become involved because it's so against God. Anything against God is demonic.
A predatory quality, and they seemed to communicate through a series of clicks and whispers that the recording.
Nah, if I saw a dude clicking and nah, bro, I wouldn't come to work. Yeah, knowing them, they'd probably throw me in there with them. So maybe I'd have to play it off, but you see people shaking and I would start praying.
Equipment couldn't properly capture. When food was delivered through the meal slot, they would attack it with their bare hands, tearing at it like wild animals. The smell began on the 8th day, a metallic, organic odor that seemed to seep through the sealed chamber's ventilation system. Dr. Volkov ordered increased monitoring, but the subjects had positioned themselves so that their activities were hidden from the observation window's view. All that could be seen were dark stains appearing on the white walls and the occasional glimpse of movement in the shadows. February 23rd, 1947, 0400 hours. The smell is getting worse, like copper pennies mixed with rotten meat.
That's blood.
Dr. V ordered us to increase
Copper, that's blood.
the gas concentration, but I heard him on the phone with Moscow asking for permission to terminate the experiment early.
Wow.
Whatever is happening in that chamber, it's beyond what anyone anticipated. I can hear them moving around in there, but they're not walking like men anymore. The sound their feet make, it's wrong. On the 9th day, the screaming began. It started as a low wail from one of the subjects and quickly spread to the others, creating a horrible chorus that echoed through the facility's corridors.
They're
But these
literally
weren't
creating zombies. Whenever I think of a zombie, I think of like Walking Dead. I think of Call of Duty Black Ops Zombies. That's literally a zombie.
screams of pain or fear. They were sounds of ecstasy, of joy so intense it had become monstrous.
What the heck?
The subjects would scream for hours, then fall silent, then begin again with renewed intensity.
Bruh.
The facility's staff began requesting transfers.
That's their limit. That was their limit, I guess. Like, oh, they started howling, but they weren't in pain, man. They were screaming in ecstasy. They're like, nah, shit me out, dog. I'm not doing it. My line would have been way before that, honestly. As soon as I would have seen them twitching in the corner, I would have started grabbing the holy water at that point. But for them, I guess it was the screaming.
Even the most hardened guards found excuses to avoid the corridor leading to Test Cell 7. The sound of the screaming could be heard through the thick concrete walls,
Wow.
and it seemed to trigger something primal in anyone who heard it. A deep, instinctual terror that no amount of training could overcome. February 25th, 1947, 2,200 hours. The screaming stopped 3 hours ago. Now there's only silence. Somehow that's worse. Dr. V is pacing the observation room, checking the monitors every few minutes. All vital signs show the subjects are still alive,
Wow.
but we can't see them. They've moved completely out of camera range. The silence is deafening. I keep expecting to hear something, anything, but there's nothing. It's like the chamber has become a tomb. On the 10th day, the subjects began to communicate with their observers. Not through the intercom system, which they...
Man, guys, that might be all the Russian sleep experiment I got in me for today, guys. But best believe there will be a part 2 of this. I mean, this is very disturbing stuff here. Literally comes from a channel called Whispers in the Dark, which is crazy. But yeah, guys, tell me what you think in the comments. Tell me what you want to see as well. I respond to all the comments. So this has been the Russian sleep experiment, the true story behind the terrifying legend. This is by Whispers in the Dark. Shout out Whispers in the Dark. But again, guys, I just want to thank you so much for watching. This has been the True Intention Podcast. I want you to guys have a great day, and I want you guys to just live life to the fullest. Do something that you've always wanted to do today. Pursue something creative. Read, listen to that song that you love. And thank you so much for watching.